my name is Lisa and welcome to this chair yoga class here on Yoga Within's YouTube channel. I've set out a bit of equipment behind me just to tell you what sort of things you may need during your class. Now for sure you're going to need a chair, so I've set it here on my mat. You don't have to have it on a mat, but it's just there for some stability and some grip on this hardwood floor. As well as I have some more traditional yoga props such as bolsters and blocks. So if you have those, you might want to have them handy. And if you don't have any props at all, that is fine. Simply a throw cushion that you might have at home would be fine as well. You may or may not need a piece of equipment or prop, but it's nice to have those things sort of handy. Now, of course, you will need a chair. And this practice is all about supporting our yoga practice off the ground. There are many individuals that would appreciate having a practice that's not requiring them to get up and down off the floor. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a good old-fashioned thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the Yoga Within YouTube channel. So come to your chair. It can be an armless chair like this one here, or you may have arms on your chair. That is no problem. The one thing that I'd suggest is we want to make sure that we're grounded in our chair. So if you could see that my feet are actually not touching the ground completely because of a short inseam. So I need myself something under my feet to support my leg length. So if you have a throw pillow at home, it might be something that you want to try to place that under your feet. That will work just great. And if you do have yoga props at home, you might actually appreciate sticking that foam block underneath the feet as well. So it's at your discretion as to how you're sitting in your chair. You want to be supported. So I'm going to sit back and allow my back to rest against that backrest and keep my feet firm on that foam block. Again, the pillow is an option for you. Now just softly release the hands into your lap. They can place on the thighs. And we're just going to get ourselves settled in our chair. I invite you to soften your gaze. You may look down towards the ground or close your eyes completely. Taking this moment to connect to yourself and feel how your body is feeling today. You may require a couple movements in that chair to just completely settle yourself and be supported. It might feel good just to drop the shoulders down away from the ears and support the low back with the chair as well. This is an opportunity to connect to your breath. Taking a long inhale in and a long exhale out. Continuing that breathing pattern of a long inhale and a long exhale. And with each exhalation, you might feel that your body is softening into the support of the chair. Various thoughts may come to mind, and what we'll try to do is just let them float by us as if they were big white fluffy clouds on their way, moving in the sky, letting them go. And as you deepen your breath, feel the impact of your breath on your body. And before we add any formal movement to our yoga practice today, take a moment of self-gratitude and appreciation for showing up today for the class. Now bringing some movement back into your body, moving your fingertips and your toes. You might feel the sensation of those fingertips and toes pressing into the floor or on your thighs. And then slowly start to incorporate some shoulder movement. So squeezing those shoulders up towards the earlobes, rounding them back and dropping them back down. Feel free to butterfly those eyes open and take your gaze forward. Take yourself one more time through those shoulder rolls. And then slowly take that rotation the opposite direction. So lifting up and around and forward. Feeling those shoulder blades spread apart. And then find a place where the shoulders feel like they've sort of landed in the normal posture of your body. So we might take a couple wiggles just to see where they've landed. And then from there, think about the position of your chin. Is it down? Is it up? Or is it parallel to the floor? Take this moment to see if you can get that chin so that it is now parallel to the floor. A couple adjustments if you need. And then taking that chin and slowly letting it glide over towards your one shoulder. Not forcing or cranking the head around, just simply letting that chin float towards the shoulder. Then letting that chin come back towards the center, taking that gaze over the other shoulder. Feel free to take that movement and go a little faster now. Opposite chin, or sorry, shoulder, the chin to shoulder. Coming back and forth, and I'm still letting that chin be parallel to the floor. If there are any movement patterns today in the class that don't feel that good in your body, then of course, please don't do them. If you have any neck concerns, go ahead and be gentle. There's no need to rush. And no need to put yourself in any pain or discomfort. Finish your last one here, making sure that you've done both sides in equal amount, and then slowly bringing that chin back to center. Yoga is about finding ease and space in our bodies. And so again, if there's anything that doesn't feel good for your body today, then please make adjustments. Make the movement smaller, or substitute in something else that feels better for you. Now I want you to imagine that there is a big Sharpie marker on the tip of your nose. And you want to take that Sharpie and draw little tiny circles around and around. Making the movement relatively slow and controlled. Again, there's nothing to rush through. And then slowly bringing that movement back into the opposite direction, drawing those little circles with the nose. I often say that my circles start to turn into ovals, and then they start turning into squares after a while. So make sure you keep that movement as small as possible and see how much you can make that circle show up rather than the oval in the square. Good, and then releasing and taking that gaze back forward. We'll slide our attention down now to our shoulders. Well, we're going to rise them up or raise them up towards those ears and then let them completely drop down. Again, lifting those shoulders up, 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 and letting them go down. Good. This time I want you to see if you can get your breath involved. So inhale, lift those shoulders up, and then exhale, let them go. Go ahead and let that exhale come all the way out of your mouth. Lifting those shoulders up, breathing in, and then exhale, let them all come out. Here we go, one more time. Lift up nice and high. And then nice sigh. Let it all go. Take your hands now and place them on top of your shoulders. We're going to slowly rotate those elbows around, which then is actually moving that ball and socket joint through the shoulder, making some nice round rotations through those shoulders. Still sitting up nice and tall in your chair, so making sure that you still have that support and the sensation of the body being supported by that chair. And let's switch other direction. Very important that the pelvis is grounded, the feet are grounded, the low back is supported throughout practice. Good. Now, taking our arms up in front of us, seeing if you can open the arms wide apart and then close those arms together. So an open and a close, open and a close. Good job. Try a couple more. Open and close, open and close. Go ahead and release those arms beside you. Give them a little wiggle out. I like to think about these as wet, sloppy noodles, so just really release those arms out. Good. Now taking our hands up in front of us, coming to about shoulder height. So this is going to be our baseline. Palms are going to face down. So for some of us, this may be just enough. And then some of us might feel like we can let those hands float up a little bit higher. So sort of see where that motion feels best for you. Just moving yourself through that forward and back motion of the arms. So bringing the arms and hands up and coming back down. Now what if you start to feel that the back decides to go with it, then you've gone too far. It's simply a movement through the shoulder joint. So we sometimes find that the ribs decide to poke out like this just so that we can get our hands higher. Well, I would prefer that you would keep your hands lower and keep those ribs down in through the torso. Good. Now thinking about the palms still going to be facing down or in towards your body to begin with, we'll take the arms out to the side. Almost as if we have long wings and feathers, and we're moving our arms just like a flowing bird in the air. Arms out to the side. Good. Now we're going to see if we can coordinate this. We're going to take our left hand forward and our right hand out to the side. Looks something like this. So the two actions that we were just doing with the arms, now we're forcing those arms into different planes. It's a bit of a brain exercise as well, as we're trying to move both arms, but they're going in opposite directions. Lifting up forward and out to the side, up forward and out to the side. If that doesn't feel good for you, go ahead and just stay here. We are working those shoulders. We're working as gravity. That is our resistance. And if you haven't done a lot with your shoulders lately, they may start to feel this. Good. We'll do one more on each side, making sure that we're balanced out. Good, and then releasing. Again, back to those slippery noodles, all wiggly wobbly. Let the arms go. Good. Now taking your hands on your lap, we'll take our left hand and place it on our right thigh, and then take the fingertips of your right hand and just bring them back behind either the chair or behind your low back. So wherever there's space, taking that hand there. We'll take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, slowly rotate. Now think about the rotation happening at the low belly to begin with. Twisting, 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 until you find that you've come to a point where you've twisted the low belly, mid belly, chest, and shoulders. And let's just try to keep our head in line with our spine. Good, and then as you exhale, slowly release. Good, now taking our right hand onto the left thigh. Swim the fingertips back behind the chair is likely where you'll be. Unless you're sitting quite a bit forward, you might be able to put it in the low back. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly rotate around the spine. Lower belly, mid belly, chest, and then maybe the shoulders. Take a couple breath cycles as you sit here in that twist. Wringing out that spine and still sitting nice and tall. On your most natural exhale, go ahead and allow that twist to come undone. Great. Go ahead and now walk those hands forward, thinking about the hip crease. I'm moving up and out of my hip crease as I walk my hands forward, taking my forearms or elbows to my thighs and letting my gaze come down towards the floor. Ensuring that the thighs and through the back of the pelvis are still pressing into that chair and the feet are firmly grounded on the floor or on a block. Really press those hips back to the back of the chair as you allow that crown of the head to come forward. Find as much length through the spine as you can. If you do have any issues with blood pressure, either it be high or low, think about keeping the head up above the heart. The head does not need to drop down. Take one more breath here and find as much length through the spine as you can. And then on your next inhale, use those hands to walk yourself back up to that seated position. We'll let the left fingertips now float up towards the ceiling. If this doesn't feel good for you, go ahead and keep that arm at shoulder height. Does not have to come all the way up if you're dealing with any shoulder concerns or injuries. Then taking your right hand, allow it to come to the side of the chair. Sitting nice and tall, take a deep breath in, grow that spine up towards the ceiling, and then as you exhale, slowly tip over, letting the fingertips on the chair glide down the chair. Coming into a side bend, trying to feel some openness through the left-hand side of the body. Making sure the feet are part of this pose, press down into the ground or press down into that support. And then slowly on your inhale, reach up nice and high, allowing yourself to set that torso right back over the pelvis again. Release the left hand, and then we'll bring those fingertips up of the right hand, finding the side of the chair with the left. Again, the option is to keep the hand here as we tip over, but it's up to you where that feels best for you. Take a deep breath in, sitting up nice and tall. And as you exhale, slowly tip over to the side. Trying to find a length on both sides of the torso. So on the right side of the body, you'll feel quite a bit of length, but we don't want to collapse. Like, try not to fall into the side of the body. Think lifting up and then over. Again, arm placement wherever feels best for you. And then slowly come back up. Good. Releasing that arm back down. Again, give those arms a bit of a shake. You might feel good to do some shoulder rolls, depending on where those arms were. Gets a little cranky through those shoulders. And then we'll take our hands to our hip creases. We've been here already, but now let's really feel those hip creases. This is where our hinge is coming from. So sit up nice and tall, press down through your feet, press down through your thighs, grow your spine tall, and then as you exhale, go ahead and hinge forward. Feeling that sensation, those hands and those fingers are getting crunched between the thigh and the torso. Again, finding length. Respecting your body. If it doesn't feel right, if you're starting to feel lightheaded, please don't go too low. But if this is in your practice, you might find that you can slide those fingertips down towards the feet. You don't have to touch the feet, but they may reach towards the feet as we try to lengthen through the spine. Take a lot of good deep breaths. And then as you're ready, go ahead and tuck the chin in and see if you can release the head forward. This is only an option if you'd like to really get a rounding through the spine. And as you're ready, take a nice deep, juicy breath in and walk those hands back up to the thighs, back up towards those hip creases, sitting up nice and tall once more. If that feels good for you, then knowing that that is how far forward you can go to get that real nice lengthen through the spine. If you're experiencing any other difficulties, lightheadedness, shortness, or dizziness, lightheadedness or dizziness, then that's probably too far forward. And as I noted, you've got to keep that head up above the heart. Good. Now, sitting here again, let's see if we can feel the base of our pelvis. So just kind of wiggle for a moment and just see. Now, some of you may or may not feel comfortable taking your hand and placing it underneath to feel the base of the pelvis. And the base of the pelvis we typically refer to as sit bones. So those sit bones are where you are sitting. So make sure you can feel those 2 points on the bottom of your pelvis. And then from here, I'd like you to see if you can shift your weight over to that right sit bone. So you still have contact on that left one, but you really can feel that downward pressure on that right sit bone. Now, of course, if you have any hip injuries and this doesn't feel good for you, then please minimize the shift of weight. Instead, really focus on getting grounded on equal sides. But for those of you that have no pain or discomfort with this, let's keep going. Shifting over now, I'm going to see if I can ground down now through that left sit bone. Pressing down, I can feel more pressure on that left-hand side. And then shifting between the two sit bones, right and then left, right and then left. There's a little bit of weaving that's happening in the torso, but we want to minimize this sort of action. We don't need to be dramatically rocking. We just simply need to shift ever so slightly to feel the contact of those two sit bones. And then now, see if you can equally balance on both of those sit bones. Take a moment here now and place one hand on your heart and the other hand onto your belly. So really grounding down through those sit bones, lifting tall out through the spine and the crown of the head. Soften your gaze once more or close your eyes. Take a moment to reconnect with your breath and feel the beating of your heart. Gently open your eyes once more. Release the hands to the lap. And then we're going to scuttle forward on our chair so that we are at the edge of our chair. But of course, please stay safe. So we don't need to feel like we're going to come off the chair. We want to just feel that we have that support of the chair underneath you. And then reassess where those sit bones landed. So see if you can find them again. For me, I come forward in a chair and now my feet are on the ground, so I no longer need that block under my feet. But adjust the block as you need. It might feel good to still have that block there to rise the feet and legs up. I should say raise the feet up. And then from here, we'll take our left ankle and cross it over our right. From here, we're going to let that left leg come out towards the side. So you can see that this top leg, this right leg, is absolutely still. It has not moved. But by crossing that left leg over and opening it up, I'm changing what's going on in that left hip. Finding a space and openness through that hip. Good, and then if you'd like, you can take your hand and slowly support and lift that leg back up. Releasing that foot and then coming over so that the right foot is crossed over the left. Allow that knee to open up towards the side. And then see if you can let that space come in through that right hip. As much as possible, think about sitting up nice and tall and still grounding in through the points of contact that we have with the chair. So those sit bones as well as that bottom foot, it's our foundation, and let it hold us. Taking that hand on the outside, going ahead and closing that leg back up. So feel free to, so if you'd like to try another variation of this pose, you can take that left leg and bring the ankle towards the shin of the right leg, and then letting that knee fall down. You might feel that you need to press into the leg with that left ankle into that right leg and feel that sort of resistance between the two as you open up the hip. You're more than welcome to stay at that cross-legged position, but to change the angle at that hip, that might make the difference. Lowering that leg, coming back to the other side. Again, the option of bringing the heel of the right foot towards the left shin, dropping that hip or knee out to the side, opening up through that right hip, or keeping that ankle crossed. Your choice where you'd like that foot to land. And then slowly release. Now taking it one step further, giving you a third option, you can take that left foot and bring it all the way up onto the thigh of the right leg. This may or may not be available to you, so if it is, feel free to try this. You always have the crossed leg option. And from this position, we're letting that knee drop, but we're not going to force the knee down. We're going to allow gravity to let that knee slowly drop down, opening up through that left hip. And then releasing that leg, bringing the feet back close together, coming to the last side. You may have to help and assist that leg up so that it becomes parallel to the floor. Still sitting nice and tall, long through the spine, lifting up through the crown of the head towards the ceiling. And again, finding space in through that hip. Releasing that, coming to a position where your feet can be quite a bit distanced apart. So coming to a point where the heels are digging into the ground, legs are open up into a V position. Settle those sit bones again. See if you can find the base of that pelvis before you set the legs, and make sure you feel super supported. The pressure into the heels is part of your foundation, as is the base of your pelvis. From here, we're going to take the toes and slowly roll them into one another and then away from each other. So we're forcing that sort of hip rotation here. The movement is not coming from the knees, but coming from the hips. Now, I myself feel like I'm sliding a little bit, so I'm really going to support myself by holding onto that chair as I let those legs kind of come from side to side, keeping a slight bend in the knees, You might find that one side has a little bit more rotation than the other, and that is just fine. Good, take yourself one more time through, and then release the legs back in front of you and give them a bit of a rumble shake out. In this position here, bring the feet back underneath the knees, lifting up out of the pelvis. We're going to swim our fingertips back behind us into the back of the seat of the chair or into our low back. So it's up to you if you'd like this position or actually having the fingertips down onto the chair, sitting nice and tall. We're going to press down through our feet, activating the thighs as they stay still, lifting up, 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 and then slightly bending back through the spine. Keeping the chin slightly tucked, we're going to round our back, open up through the chest, open up through the ribs, squeeze those shoulder blades slightly together, open, open, open. And then as you exhale, release that back bend, coming forward, hinging from those hip creases, and bringing the torso down towards the thighs. Arms can stay here on the thighs, or you can slide all the way down, releasing the head and the crown of the head down towards the floor. Take a deep breath in here and feel those lungs expand as they press against your thighs. On your next natural inhale, slowly walk those fingertips up the thighs, back to those hip creases. We are now going to come to a standing position towards the side of our chair. So go ahead and stand up and walk to the side of your chair. I'm just going to quickly move these props so that you can see my legs in action. So coming to the side of your chair, using the support, you may also find that it's helpful to move the chair so that the back of the chair is right parallel to your body for lots of support. From here, the leg that's closest to the chair is going to be our stationary leg. We'll peel the heel up of the outside leg, and this may be enough of a balance challenge for you today. Thinking about grounding and rooting down through that straight leg, and the bent knee is slowly just peeling away part of the foot, so your surface area is now reduced. If this is feeling good for you, you might find that you want to slowly try to lift that foot up off the ground. Now you can see how I grabbed onto my chair, right? I wasn't feeling very stable. So it's up to you how much you hold onto that chair as you lift that foot up. Watching that this standing stationary leg is not falling in towards the hip. We want to lift up and out of the hip joint. Now here is an option of letting the foot just slightly above the floor, and if you have more balance, you're welcome to bring that leg up so that the thigh is now parallel to the floor. Take this moment to do a couple ankle rotations. No matter where you are, if those toes are on the ground, you can still rotate that ankle. Making sure that the support leg knee is not hyperextending either. Really, again, keep that soft bend through that knee. Change direction of that circle, whichever position your leg is in, and then slowly release that leg back down to the floor. Good. Taking our chair, moving it around so that now we have the other side to work on. We're going to take that other leg as our foundation, really grounding down through the leg that's closest to the chair. Taking our feet of our opposite leg or our most outside leg and peeling that heel up off the ground. See where your balance is on this side. It might be different, and that's okay. Hold it there, and if it feels good to you, see, I gotta reposition this chair for myself. See if you can lift that foot up off the ground and watching that you're not falling and dropping into that hip. Lift up, 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 finding space where maybe there wasn't space before. And if it feels good to you, bring that thigh so that it's parallel to the floor. Start those ankle rotations as to wherever you are. So if the foot's dangling, you can do the rotations there. If that foot is on the ground, go ahead and add those rotations there. Changing the direction. Good. And then if your leg is elevated, foot off the ground, slowly release that leg down, both feet planted down onto the ground. Now take a moment and just see how those legs feel. Give them a little shake out. And then we'll come to position ourselves behind the chair. We're going to walk our feet back away from our chair, so we can't really touch our chair. From here, we're going to bend the knees quite generously, hinge through the hips as you slowly come forward so that then your hands can get the chair. Really trying to find long length. Now, if you feel like you're quite crunched up, that there's not enough space, take the feet and walk back a couple steps so that you can still feel that opening and that lengthening. So legs are long with a slight bend in the knee, hinging at the hips. We're extending those arms out and forward, pressing those hips back and up if you can. Finding a nice long lengthening through the spine. Head is framed between the two arms, so don't let it drop down. Keep it nice and long. If this is bothering your shoulders, just shorten your stance and not come as far forward. You might need to bend through those elbows and come forward like so. So find that variation that works best for you and keep breathing. And then as you're ready, take your steps one at a time all the way back up to the back of your chair. Now we'll take our chair back into a straight position, having a seat back in the chair. You may need to find that pillow, or what I had was my foam block underneath my feet. And remembering how it felt like at the beginning of class, how you were able to be supported on your chair. Pressing the hips back into the chair, sitting back into the chair so that you feel the support of the back, as well as those feet well supported on that block. Take the hands and gently rest them on the thighs. And then as you're ready, you can slowly lower your gaze, or if you'd like, you can actually close your eyes. In this moment, see if you can find your breath again. The amazing thing about our breath is that it's always there. We just need to find it. Taking a nice deep breath in, and then a real softening, releasing deep breath out. Continue that cycle of deep inhalations and relaxing exhalations. And if there's any points in your body, whether it be a shoulder or your back or your foot or neck, send your breath to that area of the body and let it sink into the chair. Now before moving, this is a time of thanks and gratitude to yourself for showing up today for this chair yoga class. Encourage yourself that anything is possible in your yoga practice. Then softly butterfly those eyes open. And as you're ready, take the fingers and start moving them gently. You might find your thumb and your pointer finger making a connection, slow, tiny circles. Then finding your middle finger and thumb connecting, making small, deliberate little circles. Then finding your ring finger and your thumb, connecting those two fingers and rubbing them together. And then finally the pinky finger connecting with the thumb. Finding the energy that's between each and every finger of your hand. And then taking the hands and bringing them together at the center of your heart. Generously rub those hands together, finding all the energy that's in those hands, all that strong, subtle energy, and then taking those hands and placing them on your heart. Thank you for practicing with me today. You can bring those hands back, the heart center. Namaste.